Emma Vardy there, just outlining the challenges in California at the moment. Now, the Arctic has locked carbon dioxide in its frozen soil for millennia, but now a climate report has found that the tundra has switched from being a carbon sink to a carbon source. The report says that increased wildfires are helping to melt permafrost, releasing carbon dioxide and methane that's trapped in the frozen soil. Henna Hundal is National Coordinator of Climate Live USA. She told me more about this latest climate emergency.
I think to kind of backtrack a bit, I think we have to remember that the Earth, the planet, is gifted with these natural treasure troves of carbon sinks. They're effectively acting like safety nets. As we continue to increase our fossil fuel emissions, these are what are really saving us. And they include biomes like the ocean, the rainforest, and of course, the Arctic tundra. But the problem is that as human-induced climate change contributes to the warming of the planet, we're actually melting that permafrost, that frozen layer in the tundra that holds about 1.6 trillion metric tons of carbon. So formerly, while the tundra was sort of saving us in terms of absorbing all of this carbon, now we're looking at a future where it'll in turn become sort of an emitter of this carbon, a carbon source instead of a carbon sink. So there's a lot to be concerned about here.
Is it reversible?
You know, the question is, can we unring the spell? Can we fully put the genie back in the bottle? And I think the issue is probably not, especially with the way that we're currently advancing on our emissions, our reductions in emissions, which is to say not a lot. What we can do is actually slow down the rate of this permafrost melting, however, and that requires getting a real handle on our carbon emissions.
You were at the recent COP gathering in Baku, Azerbaijan. What's your sense of what was achieved there this time?
You know, we had a lot of high hopes. There were a lot of promises made. We were hoping for $1 trillion of climate finance by 2030, 1.3 trillion by 2035. And part of that money was to be able to allow developing countries to catalyze a shift away from fossil fuels toward the green energy economy of the future. We fell measurably short of that goal, only achieving $300 billion of climate finance. So that really cuts away at our ability to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So I would say the problem is really severe right now, but our solutions are not meeting that severity.
But also as well, when it comes to global leaders attending, I mean, hardly any were there, which doesn't bode well, does it, for a global fight on the scale that we need?
It doesn't bode well for mustering that political courage that we need. You're absolutely right. I mean, we saw Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, President Macron of France, German Chancellor Scholz not make it, the Japanese Prime Minister not show face, President Biden not attend for the second year in a row. I mean, this is a global crisis that requires political courage and leaders being willing to keep this front and center, even though there's a tendency to want to put it on the back burner in favor of highlighting other issues. So I think there's a lot of concern here, both from the climate science perspective, but also politically, if we really have the will to gather all of our resources to address this issue.